Bring it back.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Car Mechanic Simulator. So today we're going to be doing a full restoration of this here lovely little Porsche Carrera RS. So I've made a bit of a start. I've already pulled the engine out, which we've now got on our rack, which needs repairing. I've took off all the rear suspension and made a bit of a start on the front, but we've still got a little bit left to do to finish it off. So we're going to whip off the rest of the front suspension, dismantle and repair the engine, put it all back together, get it in the spray shop, and we'll be looking good. The bodywork I've sort of largely sorted out already, so we don't have to go through that. But then we can get it painted and get it sold. So this is a modded car. If you hadn't realised, it's not actually in the base game normally, but it's available on the Steam workshops. Very easy to download and add to the game, and it's a really awesome model. It seems to be pretty accurate. It's got the engine and all the cooling in the boot. I even noticed, rather riskily, Porsche decided to stick the fuel tank right in the front of the car, which seems a little bit dangerous in the event of a crash, but hey ho. So let's whip that out. So, the bodywork is now in quite a good condition because I've got most of that sorted. But underneath it's in a pretty poor condition. A lot of the parts are rusty and worn. The engine's going to need sort of a full strip down and repair. I think the engine's a straight 6 out of this Porsche. Let's just get these bolts off for the wishbones. Front knuckle. What was the hub, sorry? This is the knuckle. And then, take all the old worn out bushings out. And then we can go and have a look at the engine. There we go. Put the crossmember. So that is now pretty much everything out from underneath the car. So just drop this back down. So you can see it's sort of like an olive drab green, I guess I'd describe the colour as. Car battery, yeah, okay. Is that an old car battery? Yes, can come out as well. So let's go and sort out the engine. So to get the engine out I had to take off the starter, the gearbox at the back, and I had to take off the inlet manifolds to get the exhaust off. So it's a carburetor engine, not an injection engine, because this is an older car, an older Porsche. I don't know what exact year this was produced. I guess it's going to be sort of early mid-70s, but maybe someone who knows more about Porsches can correct me on that. Take the ignition leads off. Wow, this is a lot of bolts holding this engine cover on. Let's get these off. Last one. Spark plugs. There's 6 spark plugs, so it's a V6. Well, it's not a V6, it's a straight 6. And then let's get the carburetors off. Oops. So the air filters in this, because it's carburetor sort of injected, carburetor air intakes, it's got an air filter on each carburetor, even though they're double barrel carburetors. So. Okay, oops, last bolt. Okay, so next thing we want to take off are the camshafts, which controls the valve timings. So that is going to involve taking off a hell of a lot of camshaft caps. Like so. So, slight change to the video this time. Last time I went through the sort of full disassembly of the car when we did the Mazda RX-7. But this time I thought... you know, you probably don't want to see just the full disassembly of a suspension again. We're going to go through it being put back on at the end anyway. So I thought it was just easiest just to sort of cut ahead and you know, do that already. Get a bit more ready. I've got some new parts lined up. Any body panels that are damaged I've got ready. The interior and all the suspension brakes and everything I should have ready. So we should just be able to drop that back in, rather than having to sort of sit watching me go through the shop trying to buy everything I need and that sort of thing. Right, so obviously I've forgotten to take off all the timing belt parts. So I can't take the camshafts out because they're still attached to the timing belt. So we'll take out the ignition distributor, the various auxiliary belts. Take that off. Nope, crankshaft pulley has to come off to get the timing cover off. And this should get me access to the timing chain because it's a chain driven car, not a belt driven car. Oops, wants me to take out the sprocket first. I guess that sprocket is acting as the tensioner. And then the two cam gears on the end of each cam. And then we can take out two cams, and that should give us access to the head. So if we unbolt this, 2, 1. Here we are. So I'm now going to probably have to, yes, go underneath. So let's rotate this round. Not like that. Not like that. On the engine stand. To get access to the crankshaft underneath. And from there we should be able to take off the sort of, what is it, the rocker covers retaining the pistons, rod caps. That's it. That's the word. Take them off. If you enjoy these sort of car mechanic videos, let me know. Give the video a like, comment, say what you like, what you dislike. I have been thinking about doing them sort of without commentary, just as like in sort of 2 or 3 2 or 3 times fast forward mode. Just so we sort of fly through them and you can just see sort of the assembly and disassembly of the car over, you know, me just talking at you for 40 minutes or however long this is going to take us. So if you want that, let me know in the comments below. We can certainly do that, it's not a problem. We'll take the pistons out here, yes. Obviously, naturally, you would take the pistons out the top. I'm just too lazy to turn this engine over, and the game lets me get away with it. Okay, well, let me take the crankshaft out. No, it's probably still got the flywheel and everything on it. Yes, it has. Take the engine off, oil filter out. So let's come out and go around the other side. So yeah, so I took the gearbox off the end, but it's still got all like the clutch. And the flywheel should be at the back of the clutch, all still on, so this wants to come off before I can get proper access to the crankshaft. So the flywheel, so now nothing should be retaining the crankshaft, which it's not. So I think that is everything. Let me just see if I take the... No, what am I missing? Let's rotate engine right again. I left the water pump on by mistake. Apologies. There we go. Oh, and a floating... we're left with a flying fuel filter. We can take that off as well. Okay, so let's race over to the repair bench and smash through this. Invariably we'll lose 1 or 2 parts, which I will have to buy through the shop as we go. But hopefully we can save the main components and we can get this engine built back up and back in the car pretty quickly. I've got a few of the suspension components as well, which have got caught up in this. Clicking as fast as my fingers can go. There really should be a sort of a repair all option on this. Oh, I saw the block briefly there. There we go. Okay, so back to the engine stand, to map mode. See what we've repaired and see what we have lost. I don't know why it lets you put that fuel filter on up there. Did that on the Mazda RX-7. I think that's really strange. So, if we're going to do this in a vaguely logical order, I guess crankshaft would be first. And really, we should be turning the engine back around. So crankshaft in, and then we should probably then retain the crankshaft. So put these crankshaft bearings back on, and then I'll flip it back round. We'll put the pistons back in. You don't have to do things like piston rings in this game. I know you do in reality, but while it details sort of the main components of sort of car building, it doesn't go to quite that level of detail. So apologies if you were expecting that. So pistons. Oops, missed. Okay, so the pistons did not restore very well, so I need to buy 6 pistons with conrods to the parts shop. Oh, maybe it does make you put piston rings on. There we go. After just saying you don't need piston rings, I think you do need piston rings. Maybe this game is as detailed as I thought. There we go. Okay, you do have to put piston rings on. I like how it sets the timing of the different pistons as you put them in. Can't reach that last piston. There we go. But we'll stick the head on and then I'll drop back underneath and put the rod caps back on all the individual pistons. Screw down, screw down. We'll put on a flying fuel filter. Oh no, we won't put on a flying fuel filter because I need to buy another one of them. Okay, so back underneath, stick on all the rod caps. Okay, that on, 2 to go. Oh, 1 rod cap obviously didn't restore properly. That's about typical. It means I end up having to buy 1. It's not the cost; it's more the effort of having to go in and out of the shop to do this sort of thing. While I'm here, I'll get an oil filter. Straight 6. And a fuel filter. I don't think different now. We just have one type of fuel filter. Stick that on there. Okay, let's flip the engine back upright. Well, we'll put the camshaft in. So I need another camshaft. Sorry about the time we have to spend going through this sort of bit, but unfortunately there's not really a lot I can do. I just have to, you know, with repairing anything. We'd have to I guess I could pause the video after dismantling. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need 14. What were they? Camshaft caps. Wow. So I want straight 6 camshaft caps, and I want 14 of these. Okay, let's get these bolted on, and then we'll stick the timing chain, water pump, and all that sort of bits back on. Imagine if we were having to work on a V12, it would take us ages. So we'll get these bits on. Yeah, we'll put all the timing chain, the water pump, the alternator and all that back on. Then I'll probably go to flip round, put the spark plugs in, put the carburetors back on. Then it should be a case of really just putting on the head, any plates or anything like that, and then basically dropping it back in the car. And then we've just got to deal with the suspension components, which I've got already, so it should just be a case of dropping them into place, so it shouldn't take us too long. Then to the paint shop, get the car painted up to whatever colour we want. I guess nothing too garish. This is an old Porsche, it's not like a, you know, we're not going to do a fluorescent orange or pink version. And then it's done. Now, is it going to need new cam gears? Cam gear. Was it a straight 6 cam gear? Probably. Yeah. Normally, all the parts relate, so straight 6 like all the way around. But every now and then they'll just end up using generic cam gear or things like that. and it catches you out sometimes. Timing chain, straight 6. Put that on, water pump pulley, and timing chain sprocket. So all the little bits they don't normally bother putting on, you know, telling you about. There's a water pump pulley, unless that was a... generic. Was that a timing chain sprocket? Straight 6. Okay. So I mean, so yeah. So this water pump pulley is just a generic part. It doesn't give it the straight 6 sort of specification. But you never know what parts are engine specific and what parts are just generic. The game just seems to sort of randomly pick and choose. What was it? Was it the camshaft? I forget what it's called. And I regularly do that as well. Crankshaft, sorry, of course. And the ignition. I'll get one of both, just depending on which one it's going to be. Okay, so let's get the crankshaft pulley back on. Got that in. Then let's rebuild the ignition distributor. I didn't remember to get any clips, so they're almost certainly going to have to buy some of them. Oh, they're repaired. Wow. They couldn't repair the pulleys, but some little crappy stainless steel clips they managed to bolt back on. Yeah, so the 2 auxiliary belts. Wow, there's a lot to choose from. Well, I guess let's just check we're not missing. Oh god, there's a lot of belts to choose from. We'll get one of them as well. Oh well, we'll have one of them as well. Okay. We brought about 4 or 5 different belts, so surely we must have picked one that was the right one. We did there. Not the second one. Yes, there we go. Okay, that's good. Let's get the carbs back on. I don't know if these have repaired. Yes, all 3 carbs have been fully repaired. Looking nice and shiny there. It's going to need a new round air filter slide draft. There we go, 3 of them. In terms of my channel, I've been pretty pleased with the way it's sort of growing. I think we're up to 17 subscribers now at the time of this video, which is great. It's sort of, I've only started sort of 2.5, 3 weeks ago. If you've got any sort of tips on what sort of could continue to be improved, you know, happy to have advice and, you know, to listen to suggestions. So let me know in the comments or message me. But yeah, pretty pleased with the channel growth. Hopefully we'll keep growing. You know, if you're watching this video, I would absolutely love it if you could subscribe. It really does make a difference. And I love getting that email that says you've just gained a new subscriber. It really does make my day. So yes, please subscribe. So bring the spark plugs back in, and we should be able to put the ignition wires through the distributor. Okay, have I missed anything? Of course, yes, all the flywheel and the clutch. So I doubt any of this has been repaired. So let's get a flywheel. And then clutch plate, pressure plate and a bearing. And then let's stick these on. Oops. It doesn't give you a lot of room to access these parts, unfortunately. And the pressure plate. Bolt that on, and then should just be the release bearing. Right, so okay, Can you see anything else that I've missed? Hopefully not. Awesome. So, I'm pretty pleased with how that turns out. I think that looks pretty awesome. So, let's get the crane. Move equipment to... Or do I not need the crane? Perhaps I don't need the crane. Install the brand new straight six into the Porsche. I think the game developers didn't account for a rear engine car, so the engine crane's kind of in the wrong place. Look at that. Back in, looking good. Pleased with that. So let's have a look if we just fit a new radiator. New radiator fan to keep it cool. I need a brake servo. Should be able to buy one of them. It's a fairly critical part of the car. And that's about it from this side. Oh no, I should be able to access the intake manifolds from here. Oh, it makes me put the exhaust on before I can access the manifolds. So we'll top underneath. Quickly stick the exhaust on, a part which I don't have. God, I've got a lot of parts in my inventory. What was it? Front exhaust section. Front exhaust section. Front exhaust section straight 6B. All that bit. As usual, if in doubt, buy all possible pieces. Oops. Let's drop that on. Yeah, that should give me access to the manifolds then. So, now we just need to drop the car back down and connect that exhaust piece up to the manifold. It's a little bit of a strange order that it's making me do it in, but it's just, I guess, it's the way it is. Let's bolt these on. And then our engine is effectively in. Then just got to drop the gearbox onto the end. I want to get underneath the car to do that, which is fine. And then we'll put the suspension components back on. So the gearbox should drop on there. Nice fully restored gearbox. In this game you don't actually take the gearboxes apart. Gearboxes are just considered to be components. I forgot to put the starter motor in. Right, okay. So we start with the rear knuckle. There's a hub. And a wheel bearing should go in there, which can connect to the drive shaft. Just build up the disc and the caliper and all that. It's looking a lot healthier than it was before, with its all completely sort of half rusted to pieces and very worn out parts on this car. So it's the rear spring and the spring cap. If there's any cars you specifically like me to do, there's a fair few mods now available for the game. So there's a fair few cars available for me to do. So if you have anything specific in mind you'd fancy, happy to do requests. I kind of fancied maybe doing. I think you can get a Crown Victoria mod for the sort of American style police car, which I thought was quite a cool idea. So that's something I'm thinking about doing. If that's interested you too, let me know. If not, happy to, as I say, happy to have suggestions about what you'd like me to do. Did I put the arm on that side? No, I didn't. Look, I'm getting sloppy. I'm missing, forgetting critical parts. I can't, in all honesty, say I know how accurate this rear suspension is to a Porsche, a Porsche Carrera setup. My knowledge of Porsches is not so great. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know if you own or have good knowledge of the inside of a Porsche. How accurate is the game? Is the suspension setup? Is it good, or is it sort of quite out and they've just done sort of a generic design? Because I did wonder. I'm hoping one day they'll do an Evo 8, which will be my dream on this game, to build an Evo 8. Obviously that's the car I own. If you hadn't worked it out from the channel name. So put the rims back on. Okay, oh, we missed that's an entire suspension arm I forgot to fit. That's a fairly critical component. Okay, so that's the back done. So we've got the engine in, the back all built up. So just got the front to put on. Let's put the Crossmember on first, and since I always forget, let's put each of its bushings on. Okay, steering rack, fuel tank, and what's its fuel pump. The two inner tie rods on either side, which then I put the knuckle in, which should let me put the outer tie rod on. Yeah, there we go. Then, so as with the back, let's build up the knuckle, the hub, and then the brakes. Wheel bearing, but obviously because it's a rear-wheel drive car, there is no drive shaft. Suspension arms. Drop them into place, and on the top. Oops. Oh. Ah. Wondered what was going on then. I missed the nut. That in. Nearly missed the same nut again. I'm not doing very well here. So let's drop the suspension in. Put the wheel back on. Front sway bar. Stop roll. And there's a sway bar end link as well. Then let's just quickly do the same on the other side. And then we'll be back up and running. Wheel hood cap, brake pad, the caliper, along with the slave cylinder. There doesn't seem to be any differentiation in brake calipers. They're all just sort of one-pot calipers, and that's it, no matter what the car is. I've not seen any in this game that have, you know, 4-pot calipers or anything like that. It's just generic calipers and caliper pots. Put my newly built wishbone suspension on, the sway bar link, and the outer tie rod. The nice refurbished whims or even rims. Okay, so unless I've missed anything, should be looking good. So let's lower it down, and I might even remember to put some oil in it this time, since I normally always forget. Interesting question. Where's the oil part? There it is. God, that's not very easily accessible, is it? It's a bit of a glitch with that. You have to pour it through the radiator. Okay, so we have, look at that, it's looking good. So let's bung it to the paint shop. Move car, paint shop. And let's get this thing painted up, and then it's as good as new. So what do we fancy going? No, not blue. Maybe like a maroon. Okay, that could be okay. No. No, not grey either. Yeah. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay. Yeah, we'll have metallic paint. We might as well. Okay, let's paint it like that. And here we are, guys. We have our fully finished. Oh no, we haven't. Our almost fully finished. Because I forgot to put the battery back in the front. Oh, this is a pain. Oh, it wants me to part mount. Okay, you can't have a battery in it. Something I'll sort out another time. But I hope you enjoyed this video. We're building a Porsche Carrera. Yeah, say I think it's sort of mid 70s, maybe early 70s. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you can let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please give the channel, subscribe, like the video, all that sort of good stuff. Thanks guys, see you on the next one.